Before the ark was placed in the Holy of Holies in Solomon's temple with the shout of joy, David made a place in Jerusalem for the ark. At the time, the ark resided in the house of Obed-Edom. David organized Levite singers and musicians to transport the ark with joy. The ark had a military escort as well. The Chronicle states that while the ark made its journey, all Israel shouted as musicians made their joyful noise. The ark was used for military support, representing the presence of God among the armies of Israel. When the ark was brought into camp, all Israel shouted. The shout was so loud that the earth rang, and the opposing camp of Philistines heard the noise. At the laying of the cornerstone for a new temple under the proclamation of King Cyrus of Persia, there was much weeping, but there was also shouting for joy. The Levites followed the same procedures set forth by David for the Temple of Solomon. The singers sang and the musicians played their instruments. All the people attending the ceremony gave a great shout of praise to the Lord. The shout of joy was so loud that it was heard far away. The shout of joy was known and practiced by the peoples of the Book of Mormon. At one point, during the war between the Nephites and the Gadianton robbers, the Gadianton armies shouted with joy, supposing that the Nephites had fallen to the earth for fear. Of course, the Nephites had prostrated themselves in prayer. At the end of the war, the Nephites were joyous at the defeat of the robbers. They sang and cried aloud, Hosanna. Over 500 years earlier, Nephi, son of Lehi, equated the shout of joy and praising to the speaking with the tongue of angels. Nephi knew that the original shout of joy, the original shout of praise, did come from the angels. He was hearkening back to the shout of creation, where the morning stars and the sons of God, God's planetary angels, shouted for joy. Joseph Smith fully understood the shout of joy and its origin. In his 1842 epistle to the church on procedures for baptism for the dead, Joseph was exultant over the events of the Restoration. At one point, he exhorted the mountains to shout for joy and the valleys to cry aloud. Like Nephi, Joseph identified the shouting and crying aloud with the creation event. Joseph called upon all nature to shout for joy and cry aloud praise to God. In essence, he called upon the planets above and the earth below to repeat the sounds at the moment of creation.